lived through a whole day, and there's only me between you and drinks now. I love coming to these events, as you can tell from my accent. I'm from the States, from our headquarters in Cambridge, Mass. Because I love what our customers have built on our platforms, and I get totally psyched by that. So before I go too far, how many people here are currently running InterSystems Iris? Right, almost everybody. How about Iris for Health? Okay. Cache? Okay, and Ensemble? HealthShare? TrackCare? Okay, so this portfolio is really powerful. I am responsible for everything I mentioned except for HealthShare and TrackCare. So Iris, Iris for Health, Health Connect, Cache, Ensemble, and our cloud properties. So I'd really love to hear from you what you think, how we can help you, how we can always do better. And from the show of hands, I think you're all quite familiar with InterSystems Iris and the idea of having a collection of services that are really pre-integrated to make it easier to build things fast. You're also familiar with InterSystems Iris as the next generation from Cache and Ensemble, and we've really continued to evolve the multi-model database and the performance aspects that you all knew from Cache into InterSystems Iris. We've continued to evolve the Ensemble integration capabilities in InterSystems Iris interoperability. It's an old marketing trick of changing the names to confuse the innocent. We've also added analytics and ML, some of which I'll be talking about more. And of course, we've made it all work well in the cloud, both in VMs and especially in containers with Kubernetes, because that's really what the modern world expects. So this is why InterSystems Iris is such a good platform for implementing what we call a smart data fabric, which you've heard a lot about in sessions today. There's really a remarkable set of capabilities built in, and we optimize for performance and footprint under the hood, so you can focus on your business applications. And we do that by, as you heard this morning, the basic mantra of vision, passion, and focus. And our focus is on these 5 areas that I'm showing on the screen right now. On developer experience, on interoperability and IoT, on cloud and DevOps, advanced analytics and AI, speed, scale, and security. And we keep focus on these release after release with continual innovation. So for example, the current InterSystems Iris release is imaginatively called 2022.1. You can see what's available in it. We're in a preview for 22.2, should be out this month. And you'll see some themes that continue through those releases. But when I ask customers what they value most from working with InterSystems Iris, I actually get things across the spectrum, from the analytics and interoperability to multi-model. But I always hear about 2 things, about speed and safety. Speed both in the raw performance of the database, but also in the time for development. Safety both in security, stability, but also support. So speed and safety are real key values that we keep. Now, who's heard of Formula E? I'm sort of a fanatic for this. I know that there was a race on this year's circuit down in London at the Royal Docks next year. London's going to be where the finale is held. But I love these cars and these races because they're super fast. You can go 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds. They're incredibly innovative. This is now the 9th year that Formula E's been going, and they've had 3 generations of cars. And they just keep getting better and better. And they have the best safety record in the industry. So speed and safety, I think this is a great analogy for InterSystems Iris. And the cars sort of look the same, but one thing that's quite different is the pit crew. I mean, this is the pit crew for Formula One. And you've got guys in flame retardant suits running around with big hoses of petrol or alcohol, as well as changing tires. This is the pit crew for Formula E. So it's much calmer. You don't want me as pit crew rushing around with volatile chemicals, but I feel pretty comfortable in this kind of role. And we're all in a race. We're in a race against our competitors. We're in a race against time. We're in a race to capture opportunities. And there are really 3 things that make the race: the car, the driver, and the pit crew. So for the rest of this talk, I'll be using this analogy. The car is InterSystems Iris. You guys, our customers and partners, are the driver. And everyone at InterSystems is your pit crew. To make the car run really fast, both on the straightaway and the curves, in other words, to make Iris run faster and faster, is a key passion. And this is a benchmark from one of our customers, their real workload. It's a fixed amount of work done and timed, so smaller is better. 2018.1 is cache, and Iris is currently 6 times faster on this benchmark versus cache, and double the speed of the previous release. So we're really working all the time to improve performance. And we do this in a lot of ways. There's a session tomorrow about SQL performance. But just to give you a taste of this, these are the recent feature areas that relate to performance. And the stuff on the left, parallel journaling and de-journaling, stream compression, journal compression, etc., applies whatever model you're using in the database. So it applies to objects, to documents, to key value, to raw globals. And during this same period, we've tripled the global performance for one of our customers. The stuff on the right is SQL specific, because we're doing a lot with SQL with all of our customers. And what we're doing to make sure that our customers stay ahead, stay in the lead of the pack, are continued innovations in this area. One I'll highlight is columnar storage. I mean, traditionally, the database market has been specialized either in transactions, which is where InterSystems really has its heritage, or in analytics. And working either in row storage for transactions or in columnar form for analytics. And we're sort of the company of and. We don't want people to have to choose. So we're investing a lot in bringing analytics into the database. In particular here, we've added a columnar storage format that's specifically made to run in parallel. It uses the SIMD operations down at the chipset level. So it's using a object script primitive called $vector to run vector operations. Our goal is to make it so that everything you're running now runs just fine, but then you can turn on columnar on the same data and really turbocharge analytics queries with a benchmark of being at least 10 times faster. We're in an early access program, so if you want to join that, just snap this QR code. The 3 customers that have tested this to this date have all been at least 20 times faster on their workbenches without losing transactional power, and also had a smaller footprint. So very excited about this. We're keeping it in experimental status and making sure that it runs really fast and that you can't shoot yourself in the foot with it, and expect it to be ready for production with our next EM release. So we've talked about the car and how we are working all the time to make the car fast, both on the straightaway and in the curves. I'm going to talk a little bit about the driver and providing a developer experience, which is great. And this has been obviously a mantra for InterSystems from the beginning. Terry Reagan really had this vision of having no impedance between the program and the programmer and the data. So you don't have to open a file or worry about cursors, you just create a variable. And that tradition has stayed with us through rapid application development across the various generations of the product. So our strategy here is to make it really easy to use Iris, to broaden our ecosystem, both by providing language choice and by building a developer ecosystem. So if you haven't, how many people are currently in the developer community? Great. And we're now north of 11,000 committed, regular members, which is double this time last year. And community is growing very strong. So we've added languages, Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, and French to the English community. So if you'd prefer to post to the developer community in Chinese, have at it. Along with this has come a focus on tooling, and I set a ground rule that we really want developer tooling to be open source. So there's been a big investment in plugins for Visual Studio Code or VS Code. And you can see this is my desktop. We're now up to 7 packages, both ObjectScript plugins, a language server, SQL tools. There's a partner here, George James and John Murray is one of the committers on this open source project. And this has been very, very, very popular. I forget the statistics, about north of 20,000 downloads of VS Code. Anyone here using it? Okay, if you did not raise your hand and you're interested in developing or even playing, just fire up VS Code. It's free, it's open source, and look for the plugins for InterSystems, and they'll download and update themselves automatically. The next one up is support for Jupyter Notebooks. It's very, very popular with data scientists and also now increasingly with data analysts. So you can run a Jupyter Notebook from Python. You can run a Jupyter Notebook inside of InterSystems Iris with embedded Python. You can run ObjectScript code from a Jupyter Notebook. So you can do experiments, share them with people, show the data and the code. It's a great way to work, especially in prototyping or in teamwork. And then, of course, we have a repository of open source components called Open Exchange. This has been going about 3.5 years. We've got, I think, north of 800 components. So there's a lot of great things in Open Exchange. They're not officially supported product from InterSystems. They're supported by the community, but there's a great set of tools and components there. Has anyone used stuff from Open Exchange? Great. Embedded Python is something we're very excited about and have gotten great feedback from customers. And we still allow you to work from Python on the client side, as we have for a while, and we have improved that as well. But now you have an option of literally running Python directly in the kernel of InterSystems Iris. So it is direct access to the data structures. You can call ObjectScript classes from Python. You can call Python classes and Python methods from ObjectScript. And it's really sort of, we call it zero-toll bridging. One reason that we're doing this is because of the available developer community. At least in the States, everyone graduating from a CS program has learned Python. And everyone recognizes that this is a language that they want to be up on. And therefore, you can get to a much wider range of talent from a recruiting or outsourcing perspective if all you need is people that know Python. The other thing is the ecosystem of libraries. There's a Python example for almost everything you could imagine. Right? If somebody's providing an API and an SDK, there'll be a Python one. There's 38,000 open source libraries that you can get to. So there's an amazing ecosystem in Python that will let you hire faster, train quicker, get code done faster, because the quickest way to write code is to steal it. I mean, to use open source code. So that's one of our key areas is developer experience and developer tools. The next one I'll talk about is interoperability, because interoperability is sort of our middle name. And here you can see sort of in this honeycomb structure the various elements we've added over time. So interoperability, we're very well known for message-based interoperability in healthcare, in supply chain, in financial services. We've added in many elements so that interoperability is not just about messages, it's also about devices, also about APIs. And the InterSystems API Manager, or IAM, was introduced about 2.5 years ago. We now have 350 customers using it. It is a really simple and high-performance tool which is just included with InterSystems Iris. And we've done this by integrating in one of the best open source API management things in the industry from Kong. So a partnership with Kong to make that well supported and work well for all of our customers. It also makes for a great match with Fire, because Fire is a REST-based API. And these are releasing asynchronously to Iris. So our 2.8.1 release came out about 2.5 months ago. We're in trial and releasing this quarter version 3.0. Again, a lot of performance increases, a lot of telemetry. This is the last part of our product line that supports the ARM chipset. So you can run on a Raspberry Pi or on Graviton instances in AWS, which are still about half the price performance of similar Intel instances. From a connector standpoint, with 22.1, we productized Kafka, our Kafka adapters, which we actually tested in the developer community for a while first, much like we did with our Python gateway. So if you have a mainstream system in the core of, let's say, a financial services group, it probably talks Kafka. And we're able to keep up with Kafka and better from a performance standpoint. But obviously, InterSystems Iris also provides traceable, durable, guaranteed delivery messages. So there's a session about this tomorrow afternoon to check out if you want to go deeper. Now, Kafka is an open source package that has a lot of popularity and many, many adapters. It adds to the other things on the upper right here, which are also open source messaging protocols with lots of adapters. But I also wanted to call out the stuff on the lower right, which are in the open exchange. So if you want to do blockchain, there's a great Ethereum connector. If you're interested in manufacturing automation, we have an OPC UA implementation. And if you want to do network management, especially integrating across Windows and Linux systems, and there's a Samba adapter. So we know we can't build it all, and I'm very excited that we have an ecosystem that's starting to build more adapters, more components, more tools, and add them to this library for you guys. I'll also, of course, mention Fire because we have a very big investment in both the core Fire libraries and the applications around them. There's a session about this tomorrow afternoon as well. So the same protocol stack is used across all of InterSystems. So Iris for Health, Health Connect, Health Share, Track Care are all speak Fire. That lets us keep up with the standard well and also makes it easy to work across our whole portfolio. So I've talked about the driver, you guys, and what we've done to make the driver's job easier in our developer experience. I'm going to switch to talking about analytics, because in a race like Formula E race, the statistics, the knowledge of how fast you're going, and all of the data you're collecting during a race is a goldmine, helping you optimize and decide while you're on the track which way to go. For InterSystems Iris, this has been one of our big areas of investment because increasingly people are making more and more kinds of decisions with their data, like Paul Norton said in the opening this morning. And the analytics facilities that are included with InterSystems Iris now have a range. Iris BI is an evolution of, some of you may have used DeepSea, where we've really focused on the core performance and stability and scalability of cubes that run directly inside the database that can be updated very quickly. So I think we have a lower latency from data to dashboard than anybody else in the industry. But they're really made for people developing applications to embed dashboards, to design them once and deploy them. They're not made for self-service exploration. So we introduced adaptive analytics about a little less than a year ago. I'll talk a little bit more about that. That is aimed at easy self-service analytics at scale. So working with Tableau, Power BI, Click, or the most popular BI tool is still Excel, and doing that at scale with an ease of use. We also introduced InterSystems reports, which are not because they're better than any other performance reporting package. It's actually quite a good package, but it's because the options for developers sort of dried up between Crystal Reports and Jaspersoft both getting bought. So many of our customers need production reports along with the database, and this is a convenience for them. Is anyone using InterSystems reports? Great. Is it doing the job for you? Okay. That's what it's for. So the whole philosophy is to run close to the data. And I'm quite aware that having 3 different choices for BI can be somewhat confusing and cumbersome. When do I use what? So we're providing guidance, and we're trying to make these work more fluidly together over time. So for example, you can use InterSystems reports on top of adaptive analytics. We're doing the same thing with machine learning. So integrated ML was introduced a year and a half ago as a way that SQL developers can build machine learning models easily. So there's a set of verbs that are in SQL to create a model, train a model, and that's just literally saying that. create model, train model, validate model, predict, or probability to look at a prediction or a range. And if you know SQL, it's very easy to use. And it's running directly inside the database, so it's high performance. We've done the same now with embedded Python, as I described a minute ago, and we've done the same for quite some time with a predictive model markup language for PMML support. Our engine there, again, is aimed at high performance. The newest element there I'll talk about in a second. It's an AI link. It's a feature of adaptive analytics. So the idea of adaptive analytics is that most data models are complex and cumbersome and often are full of weird names. So that you use a drag and drop design center called the canvas as a data steward, knowing that data model to expose a subset of it properly named and well organized for data analysts. And the data analyst sees names they know that are business meaningful, only a subset of that data model. You can create combined data models across multiple data sets like you often want to, and publish that, and then it shows up in an easy last mile experience. You click on a file and you've created and launched up in Tableau, for example. So if you haven't taken a look at it, definitely look at some of the learning material on adaptive analytics, get hands-on, give it a try. What we're adding, and this is a new feature that's also in early access, is something called AI Link, which links between the AI tools you may be using and those models. Because we found that data scientists were doing data wrangling that often reinvented the wheel from what a data analyst did. You know, the definition of on-time delivery varies a lot, but from place to place to place. Ming Zhu earlier was saying, yeah, one of our customers, if it's early, it's not considered on time. Another one, if it's early, yes, it is on time. Even down to business hours or day of the week, these are business relevant metrics and dimensions that are known to the business analyst. And once they've tweaked those models, folks in the data science group can use them directly. Saves a ton of time in terms of the data wrangling and the communication with the business and the data scientists. And then when you have a data science result, a model, whether it's a ML model or not, that shows up as well for the BI guys to use. So it's an AI-BI bridge, hence called AI Link. If you're interested in that more, come talk to me, or use that same QR code for our early access programs. So I've talked about speed and security. I've talked about the developer experience. I've talked about interoperability and analytics. The last of these 5 planks, if you will, is the cloud and DevOps. We've talked about the pit crew analogy. Well, what the ultimate in a pit crew is to be able to run it for you. So what we're doing with the cloud experience is to provide SaaS and managed service PaaS offerings for customers so you don't have to worry about installation, upgrade, backup, performance tuning, etc. And I'll be talking about this in more detail tomorrow on the main stage, but I wanted to highlight 2 new services that were cloud services for InterSystems Iris, same QR code. One that is Iris Cloud SQL, one that's Iris Cloud Integrated ML. And these are like a click, click, go paradigm where you can spin up a new instance of InterSystems Iris. This is all running in Kubernetes under the hood, but you don't need to know Kubernetes. You can scale up, scale down, and then operate using SQL and publish drivers to go directly against a SaaS database, if you will. We've been building a portfolio of cloud offerings now for about, well, depending on how you count it, about 2.5 years. The Cloud Integrated ML and Cloud SQL are the newest of these SaaS offers. They add to some vertically specific ones in Fire. We have got Fire Server, a Fire transformation service that goes from protocols like HL7v2 or CDA into Fire, and a Fire SQL Builder to project that Fire data for analytics. And we're not stopping there. We've really built a machine to build new services. They're designed to work together. So each of these services has customers running in production. They're all meant to essentially be more and more of your pit crew, but they're meant to plug together. So you may be using the Fire transformation service with the Fire service and the Fire SQL Builder, and then we're optimizing under the hood to not duplicate the data. Same thing with Iris Cloud SQL and Iris Cloud Integrated ML. If you add ML to Cloud SQL, it's not making a copy of the data, it's connecting it behind the scenes, because often with a microservices pattern, you have a fragile and big result. Each microservice sort of wants its own copy of the data. We're avoiding that in our services by optimizing under the hood. Where we're going with this is something we call smart data services. To have a drag and drop canvas, I'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, that lets you compose these services and others that partners or customers bring into applications and publish those applications to be composed yet further into solutions. So you'll hear us talking a lot more about that. You've heard a lot about the Smart Data Fabric today, where, as I mentioned, the Fire transformation service, the Fire server, Fire SQL Builder all work together under a common control plane. But this is something that now we've worked with customers in essentially every segment. And people are starting to come talking about data fabric patterns and these kind of services that you need to build a smart data fabric, the connectivity for data, the integration capability for all the data, the ability to scale out, the analytics, and the ability to go across clouds. And our vision for the fabric is exactly that. That's what we're really delivering with InterSystems Iris today, to provide the benefits that you see here. Lower risk, more compliance, better outcomes, reduced cost, higher efficiencies. With smart data services, we're then building on top of that the ability to compose services together into applications in a way that our customers will be able to do quickly and effectively. So I've given you sort of a whirlwind tour here of these 5 areas in which we're continually focused. The developer experience, interoperability, analytics, cloud and DevOps, and of course, speed, scale, and security. You can depend on us to keep going at this release after release. And I'm really interested in hearing from all of you your challenges. How are you planning on using the cloud? And so by all means, come talk to me or anybody from InterSystems and help us help you stay at the front of the pack and get you to the winner's box. All right, thank you very much. We have some time for questions.